Hello everybody, it's Dr. Mulvena here, and I want to say a big welcome back to all of you who've returned to school this September. Here at London South Art Hub, we are really excited to see what you make, and this week I'm particularly excited to introduce a female artist from Germany called Hilke MacIntyre. This print, which is titled, what do you think? What could it be titled? Indeed, titled Cat and Dog, is one example of her fabulous artworks. Now, Hilke, interestingly, was born and grew up in Germany and also studied there. She didn't study art, she studied architecture, which is all about designing buildings. However, she decided that what she really liked most of all was combining pattern, shape and colour and making simplified artworks using those three elements: pattern, shape and colour. And when you look at some examples of her artworks, like these shown here, and what you see in these artworks is how she really simplifies, takes away additional detail and boils down her subjects, her subject matter, like people and often things in nature, plants and trees, to their basic outlines. And these are quite fun outlines. That's what I really like about her style. She moved to Scotland in 1996, and that's where she is still living, making art with her husband. Not just prints, but also ceramics and paintings too. Let's have a go at drawing in the style of Hilke MacIntyre and exploring what inspires us in our everyday environment. She says, "My pictures are simply of what I see around me." So, bearing that in mind, thinking back to your summer holidays, whether you went away or stayed at home, let's see if we can make an artwork in the style of Hilke based on simply what you see around you. To begin with, you might like to spend more time looking at examples of Hilke MacIntyre's work online if you Google her name, or you might like to focus on this image, Cat and Dog, which is a particular favourite of mine because I do love how cunning cats are. And I love nature. I love being outside. I'm very lucky in that I teach in my classroom right next to the school garden, and that's going to be my inspiration today. Now, this artwork, this print, does not have any colour in. You can choose whether you want to work in pencil, black pen, or even chalk on black paper, which might be a nice idea as a bit of an experiment. Some black sugar paper there and some lighter coloured chalk grey or white. But I am going to show you my idea for the school garden drawn on an A4 piece of paper. You might want to work on a bigger size, on a bigger scale. It's completely up to you, even if you want to go smaller. And I've selected my pencil to sketch out my initial lines, my forms, showing all the life that's happening in our school garden. I'm then going to go over my lines using black pen, and I think that's really going to make them pop, them really stand out. You'll notice in a lot of Hilke MacIntyre's work that she tends to build up her landscape scenes using an idea of layers, and she combines this with a real sense of flatness. So you'll notice that her drawings, prints, paintings don't show the 3D-ness of people and things. Rather, she compresses them down till they're flat. And at the top of my artwork, I've drawn a simplified form. Can you guess what? Very important in our school. Dickens chickens, yes. And they're all scurrying away from something, and this little one at the end is peeking back boldly behind her to see what's going on. In the next layer, I've chosen to draw out the vegetable patches for the flower beds, long rectangular forms, and I'm going to fill these with shapes inspired by things you can find in our garden. Now, in this flower bed on the far left hand side, I've drawn some nasturtiums, edible leaves and flowers. They have a nice peppery flavour. And this is a photograph of some of the nasturtiums in our garden. Can you spot what's happening here? It's a little green caterpillar responsible, like his friend, for some of these holes. Very greedy little caterpillars. Definitely going to have some insects in my artwork today. So I focused on the nice round shapes of the nasturtium leaves, and also the long curving stalks and some of the veins that create this nice radiating pattern, as you can see here. So that's what I focused on for this flower bed. For my next flower bed, I could have a think about what else is growing, or what my favourite. I don't have to focus on what's really there. I can be imaginative. I could draw my favourite type of fruit or vegetable. But I really like this photograph of some peas in a pod. And I've decided that that's what I'm going to draw. They're quite interesting, quite intricate. I'm going to focus on the form of the pod, the little peas inside. Make sure your pencil is nice and sharp. I don't tend to use rubbers. I sketch quite lightly at first, and if I make a mistake, I can sketch over the top of it. So here I go. I'm going to draw in my pea pod. Now, as I said before, MacIntyre's work is based on what she sees around her, but it's stylized. And what that means is it's not exactly true to form. It's simplified, and key details, shapes are exaggerated as well. So here I'm exaggerating the size, and I'm reducing this lovely little vegetable just to the contrasting elongated sort of C-shaped pod exterior and the little neat circular piece inside. I'm doing these quite randomly scattered around, but if you are someone who enjoys pattern making, maybe you could create more of an organized repeated pattern. What you could also do, and this might be a nice idea, is to show additional texture in the soil. Again, really simply, with just some dashes and maybe dots to show all the little bits and bobs that go to make the rich compost that nurtures the garden. Now, where I live, I don't have a very big garden at all. It's really small, but that doesn't matter. Would you pay attention to what's growing in the parks, in your neighbours' gardens, in window boxes, all around you? You'll see it's a whole world, a little world beneath your feet. And in my next flower bed, I know, some naughty gardener has been in, digging a hole, and has left big footsteps all across the veg patch. Other wildlife, I have a crow calling to his friend to come over and check out these peas. They look delicious. Here, I have an oversized butterfly who's really enjoying the buddleia bush against the wall. This little chappy down here, yes, it looks like it could either be a caterpillar or a hungry worm, eager to check out what is in this basket. And it is a basket filled with harvest apples. It's a wicker basket made by weaving willow together. I'm just showing that weave with some short straight line marks. It's nice to build up a variety of line marks. So in this basket alone, I've got curving smooth lines and I've got cross-hatched lines. And then I've got some nearby wiggly lines. The gardeners left their fork here on a patch of bark. I've enlarged the fork to make it roughly the same size as these gourds over here in another flower bed, overseen by some very happy sunflowers. Now there's nothing to say that you couldn't, if you wanted to, make your plants, your fruit, your vegetables come to life. Give them expressions. Make them figurative, make them like people. Really is the magic of this little garden. A wee button nose. It's a really cheery sunflower. Enjoying the last rays of summer. Might actually return to my frames here and build up some more line pattern. In contrast to the dots and dashes of the compost, I'm going to do some cross hatching here. It just makes the flower bed stand out, or the vegetable patch stand out that little bit more. Now for the final corner, this bottom layer, what could be going on here? Got my top layer of my rather nervous looking chickens scurrying away, my flower bed vegetable patch layer. I've got my sunflower layer. I've got a bit of a jumbled layer here of autumnal fruits, harvest apples and gourds, little insects, and then the very bottom layer, which could spill up into here. I might actually go for a watering can that's spilling big droplets of water that are going to make up the final layer. So I'm going to have a go at that. Then I'm going to go over all my lines with my black pen and see how distinctive that can make them. See you very shortly. So now I have finished. I've drawn over all my pencil lines with my thin black inky handwriting pen, but I could have used a biro. I've also experimented in the foreground here using a slightly thicker black marker, as you can see here, and I think a balance of thicker and thinner black lines works quite well. There is nothing to say that you couldn't add colour using either colouring pencils or paint if you wished, or felt tip markers. Now finally I wanted to show you another idea, this time working on black paper, black sugar paper, A3 size rather than white, and using chalk to draw on. I've looked at a photograph of this beautiful sunflower that was growing in the garden, and what I've picked out is the long sharp points, the end of the petals. And then if you see here closely, the lines, these little peaks in the inner head that all come towards the central point. Then the big loose open leaves with veins in, some linear stalks. And I've picked out these basic shapes, the long sharp lines that come to meet together at a point, the circular, or rather oval shaped head, and picked out some semicircular shapes here to sort of frame the head, and then these little lines that can work to draw the eye into the center of the sunflower head. It's a fascinating flower. This sunflower head slightly further away, looking up towards some rays that are pouring into the garden. Add in the simplified stalk. See how all these lines connect together, weave together to make a Hilke inspired, cheerful artwork. Well, everybody, that's it for today's session. I really look forward to seeing what you create, and please do take photographs. Send your work into this email address with the chance to possibly having your work displayed in our online gallery, London South Art Hub. Wouldn't that be exciting? Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I shall see you all ready for a new creative exploration next week. Cheerio!